we love ourselves a little bit of can of whoop ass against the New York Yankees. How you doing, Mets fans? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with the latest Metropolitan postgame segment, the #1 postgame show here on YouTube, and in the #1 Mets platform on YouTube, not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY, thanks to you amazing Mets fans. And in tonight's show, we're going to break down how the New York Metropolitans absolutely curb stomped once again the New York Yankees, this time by a whopping final score of 12-2. Garrett Cole, Luis Gil, what do these schmucks have in common? We're absolute batting practice for the New York Metropolitans, and apparently the aces there that we see in the Bronx. Not so much here in Flushing for this two-game set, am I right? So much to get into. Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos are single-handedly killing the Yanks that we saw plenty, and they are looking like not only bombers and queens, but looking like guys that can impact this Mets lineup like never before here in the 2024 season. And for the first time in over a month since being 11 games below 500, when us Mets fans thought the season was over, far from it, as the Metsies are now back to 500 on this season. There's still a game and a half out or so of the wild card, but they're right in the thick of things. They have been absolutely rolling. The offense, they scored once again. Now we're looking at what? A total of what? 20 runs, if not more, that we saw over the past 24 hours by the Amazons. The offense has been early, it has been often, it has been brilliant. So to everybody first chiming in live on a replay, and for my replay viewers in comments down below, same applies. Spam those W's in the live chat, folks. That is what I want to see. We are eating up Yanks fans here for breakfast. If you're a Yanks fan, I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm a Mets fan, and we certainly enjoy these victories in the Subway Series matchup. And you know, you could quite literally hear a pin drop by a good portion of Yanks fans I see talk shit all the time on Twitter. So a nice little slice of humble pie to kick off your evening is the best thing possible. Yoshima with the $2 holly. Yoshima says, Yankees more like Froggies. Brooms. Break out the brooms, baby. Let's get this sweep going. Cameron Kier, Jorge Lopez was a good luck charm. Appreciate that donation. Yes, he was. Things have spiraled in the right direction for the Mets since then. We see this. You guys still suck, says Eric. Oh, yes, because this is our World Series. You know what? Maybe, Eric, maybe you should have the reality check that you just got your teeth kicked in by a 500 ball club Mets. You guys have been playing god-awful baseball for the past week and a half plus. It's almost like you have some holes and you're far from perfect. It's almost like you're not going to have the World Series championship on a silver platter the way you Yanks fans expect each and every year, like the bozos that you are. Speaking of bozo, we got a donation from my man El Bozo with the $2 holl in the chat. Says, let's go Mets. Also, Knicks are terrible, Ella. Let's go Knicks, baby. We, of course, got our 5-year, $212 million contract done with OG Anunoby. We are lively. For my Knicks fans out there, if you know, you know. The draft, I don't care what's happening in the draft. I'm pumped up about the Knicks overall. Churno with the membership. Thank you so much for being here. Spam those W's to everybody first chiming in live on our replay. And folks, we're going to break down the ball game. We're going to get into the highlights. We, of course, are going to look at all the amazing things. How the Mets, again, teed off in batting practice against the Yanks here in this matchup. We're going to get into the pitching and why Sean Manaea was both brilliant and a little frustrating at the same time, thanks to that walk rate. We're also going to, again, take a look at the offense. How you get a hit, you get a hit, you get a home run, you get a home run. Everyone and their mother had a contribution for the most part on the offensive end, which we absolutely love to see, folks. But before we break down the ball game, before we get into it all, let's let it rip with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Shout out, as always, to my guys, Greg and Jordan. I know, I'm not Jordan. Greg and Jordan. Shout out my man, Greg, especially. I saw him at the Mets game today. It wasn't in person at Citi Field, but I did see him there on SNY's broadcast. Speaking of SNY's broadcast, don't talk about the best booth in baseball to Michael K, or else he's going to get himself his little you-know-what in a twist. Because apparently to Michael K, if someone goes out of their way, especially SNY's network themselves, to label the best booth in baseball as Gary, Keith, and Ron, he takes great offense to that as someone who who believes his booth is the best in baseball. Oh my goodness. Oh, what would we do if we hurt this man's ego once again? It's softer than freaking Charmin Ultra Soft. My goodness gracious. And to add insult to injury, Gary, Keith, and Ron, we saw absolutely rag and joke about Michael K later in the broadcast. We had Keith saying that, oh my goodness, you know, this is potentially the best rain in baseball that we see. It was absolutely hilarious. I hope you guys saw it too. But again, guys, let's break down this ball game. Let's get to your donations. Thank you all so much for all of them. Really does mean a lot, everybody. Thank you to everybody for chiming in live on our replays. We're breaking down the ladies of Mets land, breaking out those brooms in the live chat. As always, it's the Mets take down with ease the New York Yankees. AJ with the $10 holla. AJ says, great one for the Mets, especially being the Yankees. This team knows they can be confident winning against top-tier pitching too. Absolutely. And you absolutely love to see it. And yes, Steven, I was right. I'm happy to be right. Francisco Alvarez, to say he's a difference maker is quite the understatement. Now with a 9-game hitting streak for Alvarez, basically hitting 500 throughout that span, single-handedly destroyed Luis Gil that we saw and this Yankees lineup once again today. Again, everyone and their mother got an offensive contribution that we saw. Dominic, great member. Daniel Caps, great member. Alex, great member. Happy to have you all here. Let's see. Borna in shambles. Hennessy in shambles. Let's effing go, Mets. If you know, you know. Shout out to my man Borna, the #1 Padres, of course, YouTuber out there. He's a beauty. Thank you for the $10 donation. Great member. Kish in the chat. I can't breathe. I'm sorry. I'm always electric after a Metsian victory. And we're going to break it down inning by inning. And as we always do, we're going to get into a bit on the pitching and the offense. We're going to talk about our great sponsors at Sower MLB and BetUS and everything in between. We're going to get to your comments, questions, and concerns. Let's see, the cock twister Eric says in the chat. I don't know what's going on there, but it's hilarious. Yes, Pat is in absolute shambles. He thinks the Yanks season is done. I didn't want to rag on him too hard, so I let him, have the night off. That's fine. And in regards to Borna, the same applied to. Appreciate that donation, Kish. You guys are absolutely amazing, folks. Let me make sure that I have everything set up here in the live show before we continue to break it down. If you guys are watching live on Twitter, thank you so much for being in here. Make sure that like, that follow button, that retweet button. But no, as always, I will only be interacting with our live viewers here on YouTube. And we're almost at 900 concurrent total viewers tonight. Again, happy to have each and every one of you in here. If you guys could do your boy a favor, hit that like and follow button, that subscribe button, that would really mean the world to me. And again, thank you all so much in advance. But guys, we got a lot to talk about. Edward with the $5 holla. I got to ask you all, we're back to 500. You just absolutely destroyed the New York Yankees like they were just another team that you had to go through. The Mets quite literally woke up today, saw they were facing Luis Gil and the Yanks, and sighed in relief because that's how easy of a matchup it's been. If we're excluding the bullpen implosion yesterday that we saw by Adam Ottavino and Reed Garrett. This Mets bullpen is absolutely taxed. Speaking of bullpen, Drew Smith is now placed on the 15-day IL, unfortunately, with a right elbow issue. And in the case of Drew Smith, not that he was really all that serviceable for the Mets, but in non-high leverage situations, he's solid. Just don't want him in any tight ball game whatsoever because he's going to give up a long ball as Drew Flo typically does. But now the Mets are down yet another fairly serviceable reliever for the next 2 weeks. They're already down Edwin Diaz with the suspension. They're already down Sean Reed Foley, and they did call up a guy today that I'm absolutely going to butcher on the name if I don't say it properly here. They did call up Mr. Abcock, who of course had a 3.45 ERA with the Mariners last season. Not looking too great in AAA so far this year, but I digress. Mets probably need to add some relief help, and sooner than later with how Texas bullpen is. And even with the taxed bullpen, the Mets got the job done like it was another day on the block here for the Amazons. Cameron Kier with the $5 holla. Cameron says, in Kansas City for the weekend, Royals games Friday and Saturday, but I'll keep my eye on the Mets. Awesome, Cameron. Happy to have you in here. And honestly, those Royals are a fun team too. Seriously. Especially Bobby Wood Jr. and all the amazing things he has been doing this season. Alvy does have Riz. Yes, he does. AZ with the $5 donation says, the Yanks salt is real. Francisco Alvarez is a grown man. Dominant Mets W. Put in the books. Put in the books, baby. Thank you for that donation. Greatly appreciate that as always, AZ. Great member here on the channel. El Bozo, thank you for the $1 holla. Appreciate that a lot too, everybody. We're almost at 100 likes already, you amazing Mets fans. Let's break down this ball game, shall we? Enough of me dilly-dallying. Just a couple quick things that I want to throw your way. Jordy, thank you so much. Can you explain why Diaz couldn't appeal? It's not that Diaz couldn't appeal. He chose not to appeal because if he did, then it would have been a lengthier process and it would have just propelled him to still have a lengthy suspension. He wouldn't have won the appeal by much, if anything. Usually doesn't go in the pitcher's favors when that happens, so he accepted it right away so he could return to the Mets as soon as humanly possible. Appreciate that donation, Jordy. Greatly appreciate that. But some other updates outside of Michael K, of course, having his very, very soft ego hurt once again that we saw entering tonight's ball game. If you saw him on the broadcast pregame today, yesterday, and we also saw the Mets entering tonight's game on the offensive end. Mind you, this is before putting up a 12-piece, which is basically McDonald's late at night when you get a couple extra nuggets because they're about to close. When you put up a 12-piece here on the New York Yankees, and mind you, you do that after entering tonight's game with the following MLB rankings across the board since the start of June. Runs per game, the Mets ranked first at 6.2. Average 287, first in baseball. Average with runners in scoring position, 310, third in baseball. Slugging percentage, 500, second in baseball. OPS, just under 860, first in baseball. I'm going to go on a limb and say that the Mets have probably won in every offensive statistic category since the beginning of June after this dominant victory here against the New York Yankees. Yep, and we're at 500. We gladly take that. Dono's lit. Everyone is amazing. AZ, thank you so much for the membership. Really does mean a lot. David, great member with the $5. This is what I mean when the Mets win, we win here in the community, and you guys are always beyond generous when they do right. So thank you so much for that. That goes right back into channel 1, and that is, of course, diaper money too, if it's not going back in the channel. So thank each and every one of you so much for your beyond generous donations here tonight as the Mets win this one massively by a final score of 12-2. Re-sign JD and Alonso, sign Mr. Juan Soto in free agency. Soto, of course, is going to be met at the end of the season. Said a lot of Mets fans and very little Yanks fans. That's why there's a lot of Yanks fans that get upset and offended by that. But we'll talk about that later on the show, folks. First and foremost, let's get into breaking down this ball game. I don't want to waste any more time, but I am juiced the hell up. This is honestly probably one of the most juiced up reactions I've had in a minute. I'm so pumped up about the Mets right now because they needed to make a statement. We needed to hear this finally against a big market club with a lot of eyeballs on us the past 24, 48 hours against the big bad Yankees, who I understand only won 3 of their past 10 games entering the season, entering the series. I don't give a rat's you-know-what. They needed to play better baseball than what they did. The Mets stepped the hell up. They got offense early and often. They got the pitching that needed to get done. And who would have thought that in this series where Garrett Cole and Luis Severino, shout out to Sevy, Garrett Cole and Luis Gil matching up here against Sean Manaea, and Davis, was good to see Davis again, was good to see him get on bus and leave too. Absolutely. JD Davis, thank you so much for doing absolutely nothing but benefiting the Mets in this 2-game set. You honestly got to thank the Yanks for going out of their way to acquire JD Davis from the Oakland A's to help single-handedly impact the Mets greatly in this 2-game matchup between the multi-inning double plays that we saw, between the bases-loaded double play to kick off the game yesterday and multiple strikeouts, and today striking out on fastballs right down the pipe. I'm glad to see not much has changed there for Mr. JD Davis. SR, thank you again for becoming a great member on the show. Hope you have a fantastic time. Guys, are we still frozen or is everything good right now? I had the stream freeze. That is how pumped up I got. Let's see here, everybody. Are we all good? Are we all caught up? Can I break down this ball game for you all now? Or are we going to continue to freeze like the mofos that we are? We got roughly 700 amazing Mets fans or Yanks fans on the live show here. Thank you so much for being here. We're all good now. As long as you guys spam in the chat that we are all good, I will break down the ball game inning by inning for each and every one of you now. Let me hear it. Let's see it. Mets win by 10. Grimace era continues. We only have, I think, 2 losses in the Grimace era, so I had to put him back on the thumbnail. I just had to do it, everybody. Okay, I think we're good. Let's break down the ball game. And I will also have a prospect report for you all by the end of tonight's show, folks. We're not taking callers tonight. It's late night. We're just going to be doing our usual thing. That is Grimace absolutely pounding beers that we saw during the rain delay today. I had to put that in the highlights. That was amazing. Whatever Mets fan was wearing that that outfit, that Walmart, that freaking that Wish-looking ass Grimace outfit was a thing of beauty. Yes, we did hear Ron troll Michael K. and Keith too. Chef's kiss, a work of art, really. Okay, breaking down the ballgame for the 5th and final damn time, as I have said this now, folks. Again, the Mets win this one beautifully by a final score that we see there of 12-2, and it starts here in the first inning, right? We got ourselves Sean Manaea, the veteran southpaw, matching up against Luis Gil, who has been a flame-throwing right-hander, but Luis Gil got exposed by the Orioles 5 days ago in his last start, gets exposed by the Mets again, and the common consensus amongst Yanks fans is they want Luis Gil to have more rest, because Luis Gil is on pace to have 160 innings this season, which is a lot more than he's used to as a guy that's been a reliever the past couple years in the Yanks organization. So, Luis Gil, again, looked a little burnt out today, and again, the Mets absolutely made this team pay early and often. Soto kicks off the game with a walk. Of course he does. Judge with a walk. JD Davis with a walk. So you're telling me bases loaded, less than 2 outs for Sean Manaea, and again, he has a smirk on his face because he knows he's going to work some Houdini magic, as he always does, and gets out of the jam. This is now the 2nd straight start for Sean Manaea that he basically walks the bases loaded to begin the ball game while also getting out of said jam unscathed as he gets a beautiful double play ball by Mr. Alex Verdugo. You might as well think Alex Verdugo is a Metropolitan because he helped the Mets a lot this series. He ground into multiple double plays that really helped the Mets in this matchup, including today's game, as a matter of fact. In the bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor, I called this from a mile away, folks. As soon as the bottom of the inning began, I looked at my parents and my girlfriend, and I said, Francisco Lindor double, you're welcome. Literally a minute and a half later, Francisco Lindor double because he has been a lock at doubles every single leadoff opportunity he's had as of late. Francisco Lindor now, over his past 5 games, has 1 home run and 5 doubles. The extra base god is in fact back after doing doubles and home runs galore all last season. We are once again seeing that full-fledged here with Francisco in this matchup against the Yankees. Lindor gets the second base right away. JD Martinez gets on via hit by pitch. A hard hit by pitch. Our Mets fans gonna cry and say, you hit JDM, so we're going to go drill your best player. No, we're not going to do that because we actually know how to win ball games without being cheap like the schmucks that you guys are. And on top of that, imagine drilling Gunnar Henderson and still losing your series by a final score of 17-5. Couldn't be me, but it surely can be you Yanks fans. If you know, you know. We see JDM with the hit by pitch, Alvy with the walk, bases loaded, 2 outs here for the Mets. And the difference, not yet at least, there would be some unison with the Yanks as they both, again, load the bases, handshake, and leave it unscathed. Tyrone Taylor unfortunately pops out to end it, but Taylor would have a fantastic at-bat his final time out there. Billy Dottie with the $2 haul. Thank you so much. Billy says, how sweet it is. Bring on the Astros. A huge series starting this weekend against Houston that we know. 2 teams that have just touched 500. The hottest teams in baseball right now. A far from easy series against the Astros. I fear far more than the shit that we got here against the Yanks. Literally, it was... I don't want to say it was easy because yesterday was a sweaty one, but if you exclude the bullpen implosion, if you exclude the lack of bullpen depth you currently have with injuries and suspension, the Mets that took care of this Yankees team so easily that I just have a nice smile on my face throughout the entire time of it transpiring. Mets are tied 0-0 as we head to the second. The second, DJ LeMay, who actually does something for a change outside of being a net negative offensive and defensive player. He rips himself a single. That's all she wrote, though. Shamanaya gets out of that. Then we see, of course, we see in this one, Shamanaya still works a nice 1-2-3 outside of that, as also his first 1,000, not first, but he gets his 1,000th strikeout of his career that we saw today. It was awesome, and his 1,000th K came against Mr. Juan Soto. Chef's kiss, you love to see it. We get to the bottom of the third or so. Francisco Lindor rips a double, his second extra base hit, and has had many at-bats. JD Martinez drives him in with an RBI opposite field single. Mets take an early 1-0 lead. Pete Alonso with the double play ball, so 2 outs, there's a runner on for Francisco Alvarez. And El Troll, as we have been saying for days now, he is not only a human highlight reel, he's a man that you need to watch every single time he's out there because that is just how much of a difference maker El Troll is. He rips a no doubt opposite field 2-run shot to increase the Mets lead 3-0. Alvy with his 4th bomb of the year, 4th of many that we're going to see this season as he continues his 9-game hitting streak. He has been on an absolute tear. Thank you so much for that donation, Billy Dottie. I'm concerned for the Astros too. I'm not concerned. I'm really excited and very much anticipating that matchup with the lack of bullpen we have, as that may very well get exposed this weekend too, but we'll see. Speaking of the Astros, everybody, Omar Narvaez will be facing the Mets as he just signed with the Astros. So I swear to you, know what? If Omar Narvaez balls out this weekend, I might just quit YouTube entirely because there's nothing to justify that $8 million schmuck who deserves a penny of that contract getting any type of production, let alone against the team that cut him. Ralph, thank you so much for the $2 donation. We appreciate that a lot, my man. Happy to have you in here. Richard, great member as always, too. As we continue to break down the ball game, the Mets are now up 3-0 thanks to Francisco Alvarez's home run heroics here, going oppo against Luis Gil. And after that home run, Tyrone Taylor gets on base with a hit by pitch. He will then reach second base on an error. Unfortunately, the Mets don't score more there. They're up 3-0 through 3. In the top of the 4th, Aaron Judge gets on via single. JD Davis with a walk. Verdugo with a double. Verdugo with a double play again ends the inning. We love to see it. Shout out to Alex Verdugo for being absolutely useless for the Yanks in this 2-game set and has been for a good stretch now. Yanks fans know this. Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean Alex Verdugo is in this elite batter and almost like he's been a league average batter basically every year of his career outside of going gap to gap pretty well. I digress. In the top of the 5th with 2 outs, we would see Cabrera with a walk, but that's all she wrote there for the Yanks. In the bottom of the 5th, Brandon Nimmo with a walk, Alonso with a walk. 2 outs later, and we see the lefty Ferguson come in. No problem for Francisco Alvarez, who does Alvy magic. Francisco Alvarez rips an opposite field RBI double over the head of Juan Soto, who's far from a superior defender in right. Soto playing in, and Alvy somehow poked that thing so far when, if you saw the pitch placement, was up and in there right out the hands. For him to get it that far opposite field just shows you the ridiculous, immense power that Francisco Alvarez, the Mets' young backstop, certainly has. And as I've been telling you guys every single day, and I will say again, the Mets and Francisco Alvarez, Alvy in particular, will be a top 3 catcher in Major League Baseball by the end of the season if he's not already. He's that good. He's batting over 300 now. He's got right around a 900 OPS. Francisco Alvarez is blossoming before our very eyes, and once those home runs continue to happen the way that they've been, oh baby, we are just seeing how deep this Mets lineup is when things go right, and it's been awesome to see. Quite the understatement, I should really say here. No less, again, the Mets are still up 3-0 that we see in this matchup, and then after 4-0 because of the Francisco Alvarez opposite field RBI double. This was, of course, an hour-and-a-half rain delay happens. So then afterwards, the Mets continue the inning with a couple guys on, less than 2, and they tack on. We get ourselves a Tyrone Taylor walk. Bases loaded, 1 out now for the Mets. Mark Vientos drives in a run with an RBI walk himself. His first of 2 RBIs on the day for my third baseman, baby. Speaking of third base, Brett Beatty is continuing to do everything in his power to get a call up. The issue is Vientos is playing so good, and the Mets don't feel the need to rush him up to play second base, a position he isn't overly comfortable yet, that we know, at least at the MLB position, at the MLB level. But we'll get to that here when we get into our prospect report, our farm report on the day before wrapping up the show. But as we reel back into this one a little bit, Taylor gets on with the walk, of course, Vientos with the RBI walk. Then we see McNeil with an RBI sac fly, makes it 6-0 Metsies. So McNeil, Jeff, I don't love you lifting the ball, but if you're going to, now is the time to do so in that situation. I appreciate that selective hitting there by McNeil. Then we see Bader with an opposite field RBI double against his former club. Harrison Bader was absolutely teeing off against the Yanks in this entire matchup. Felt like a guy that definitely wanted a little nice taste of revenge pie, you know, whatever you want to call it. Harrison Bader, the New York native who was a former Yank, was the most notorious Yank to step up for them in playoffs a couple of years ago when no one else decided to. And Bader has continued to be beyond clutch with 2-out hitting, runners in scoring position, and doing well against his former clubs. That held true here in this matchup for the Mets, as the Harrison Bader RBI double makes it 7-0 Metsies. As we get to the 6th, Danny Young comes in, and Danny Young, of course, is pitching with a depleted Mets bullpen right now. And for his second straight outing, Danny Young unfortunately can't get out of his own way. He walks Soto, and then he gives up a long ball to Aaron Judge. We all could have saw that coming. Aaron Judge already with his 30 bombs on the season or so. Judge getting a soft tossing lefty. Of course, if he's not locating well, of course he's going to eat that up for breakfast. It's a 7-2 ball game, unfortunately. We would see after a Verdugo strikeout, thank you, Alex, Adam Ottavino comes back in. So the former Yank, who of course did not look good yesterday, comes back in, and he allows LeMahieu to get on base because of a Mark Vientos error. I would just like to emphasize Mark Vientos started tonight's game with a fantastic play at the hot corner, getting a huge out, and then of course had that costly error that we saw in this one. But thankfully for the Mets, it wouldn't really cost them that much because they well strike out later, and we see Adam Ottavino escape the jam unscathed. Peter with the 2-holla. Peter says, Astros back to 502. Vote Lindor for All-Star. Vote Lindor for All-Star. Vote Francisco Alvarez for All-Star. Vote those boys in. They absolutely deserve it. Lindor continues to deserve it more and more by the day. He literally, look at Francisco Lindor's numbers quite literally since, I don't even know, like mid-May? You can go all the way back to mid-May. Since he has started batting leadoff, which I think has been right around May 18th. I could be wrong, but it's been a bit now. The Mets' numbers have been ridiculous as a collective group offensively, and individually, Francisco Lindor has been a top 3 player in the National League, top 5 in Major League Baseball for the most part. He's just been unbelievable, and we greatly appreciate that from Mr. Smile, our $325 million man. We want him to step up. He is stepping up and going gap to gap and hitting home runs, and it could not come at a better time here for the Mets. So we're up 7-0, becomes 7-2 because the Aaron Judge home run. Adam Ottavino gets out of that game unscathed. Then we see here in the bottom of the 6th, Pete Alonso with a hit by pitch, Alvarez with a single, Tyrone Taylor with 2 outs says, let's really light this one up big time. He rips a no doubt 3-run shot to left. That makes it a 10-2 ball game. So for a Mets team here, that again, I tweeted, I want them to add some more runs. I know it's only a 5-run ball game, but it's only 5 runs. This Yanks team could reel right back in this before we know it, and the Mets respond the best way possible, and they do it all with 2 outs. That is the most impressive thing. 2 out, beautiful hitting. Tyrone Taylor gets himself a meatball. He eats all of that, and the Mets are up 10-2 in this one. Thank you, Tyrone. We see Mark Vientos get on with a walk afterwards. That does it for the inning. We then head to the bottom of the 7th here for the Mets, where we see Mr. Harrison Bader rip his 2nd home run of the series, his 3rd extra base hit or so of the series. Bader rips one, and it makes it an 11-2 ball game. Harrison is very pumped up, as we all are. We absolutely love to see it. Bader continues to torch his former club in the New York Yankees. We then get to the bottom of the 8th here after, mind you, Adrian Hauser was absolutely brilliant today for the Mets. I cannot tell you all just how important Adrian Hauser was to this Mets bullpen. He has become our Trevor Williams 2.0 right before our very eyes, folks. Adrian Hauser ended tonight's game with 3 innings of 2 hits, 0 earned run ball, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts, a 5.55 ERA, and around a 2 or if not sub-2 ERA as a reliever. I love this, Adrian. Continue it because we need those multiple innings eaters like you, like Sean Reed-Foley, like Danilo Nunez, among others in this bullpen when you guys are healthy and when you are right. That is awesome. No less, as we see here in the bottom of the 8th, Alonso gets on with a single. Luis Torrens gets to bat for Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez, who has started 8 consecutive games for the Mets during his 9-game hitting streak, gets, the final inning or so off defensively. That's fine. Torrens rips a single as he just came back from the paternity list. Me and Torrens alike, both now new fathers that we're very excited about. And then Vientos drives in a run that we see there with an RBI single to make it 12-2. And of course, we would see 1 Yankee batter or so get on in the 9th. That's all she wrote. Adrian Hauser gets the job done, and the Mets get the job done, winning this amazing Mets game by a final score of 12-2. On the pitching end that we're going to break down here very soon, folks, so be on the lookout. We're going to talk a bit about Sean Manaea, Danny Young, Adam Ottavino, Adrian Hauser. Hauser was so good. On the hitting end, we're going to talk about what certainly stood out for the most part for the Metsies, what's not maybe a little bit more than others, and everything in between. And again, thank you all so much in advance to everybody that is in here right now. Continue to smash that like and subscribe on in case you guys and gals haven't already, as we break down the latest in Mets land as the Mets win this one again by a final score of 12-2. The Mets came out guns a-blazing as they out-hit the Yankees tonight 12-6. Their offense has been absolutely rolling. Offensively, entering tonight's game, again, the Mets have been ranked basically the best offense in Major League Baseball for the past month. And what did we say a month plus ago, everybody, after a miserable May, us shooting for the stars and hoping for the best? We just want to see a joyful June. We just want to see some entertaining baseball. We just want to see some 500 ball, if possible whatsoever. And the Mets said, you know what, let's do you better. Let's bring in Grimace. Let's get the Grimace era going. Let's get the baby Wardy, aka Mr. Shea Ward, going. Let's get that era going, and let's just continue to dominate and win ball games each and every day. Since the Lopez situation, since the team meeting, since Lindor, JDM, and others started to speak up, this team has been playing on all full cylinders right now. Mind you, this is what a Pete Alonso that is still not playing to the Pete Alonso caliber that we want to see him perform at. So for a Mets team, again, that was 11 games. I cannot emphasize this enough, everybody. 11 games below 500 when so many people, including myself to a degree, felt like this season already could be reaching an end before it began. Farthest thing from the truth now is the Mets have clawed themselves back. They have climbed the ladder. They have reached the mountain, and they are now back to an even slate at 500 ball. So what does that mean going forward? Every game is important, but you got to take things game by game. Exactly how the Mets have been doing is how they need to continue to approach this team, and good things are certainly going to happen. And that is what we love to see. Yes, yeah, we love to see that too. Happy to have you in here. Alan, great member as always. Shout out to everybody, to my roughly 600 live viewers. Folks, we're almost at 200 likes already. Thank you all so much. Continue to smash a like and subscribe on for your boy. Greatly appreciate it as we're bringing down the latest in Mets land as they take down with ease the New York Yankees here and win a massive one again, 12-2. And you want to know what stands out to me maybe a little bit more than others, guys, if I'm being quite frank, it's not only the Mets fantastic offense that we saw throughout the entire showing, but it's also showing that, again, you might not get a Pete Alonso to step up in clutch situations, but the depth of this offense now, mainly Mark Vientos and Francisco Alvarez, that we have been putting on a pedestal for quite some time now, are not only blossoming, but they are quickly becoming some of the more lethal weapons in all of the National League. Like, I'm sorry, if you're not paying attention, opposing fans, if you're a Yanks fan or you're a fan of, you better start paying attention now. If you're wondering why exactly you should be, it's because these guys are balling, and they're going to ball against your club if you don't have the proper playbook for them. And in the case of Alvarez and Vientos, my goodness, my God, my gracious, these two young boppers, homegrown talents, went from being the future of the Amazons to what the Mets are right now. And that is what we love to see. We're going to get to the box score and everything, all that stuff in between here in just a minute, folks. But before we break down, again, a bit more on the ball game, get into the numbers, my key takeaways from this victory, and certainly what stood out, I do have to let all you amazing Mets fans know about our awesome sponsors on the channel. And let's start with our great friends, as always, at Sorare MLB. Because in case you guys and gals do not know Sorare MLB, it is the best MLB fantasy game out there. And simply put, if you guys like MLB The Show, if you guys like being your own GM, where you, of course, can build your own roster of virtual cards, where you then are, of course, drafting and entering tournaments with teams that you built and have drafted yourself, with these cards, you can, of course, buy, sell, and trade them on the marketplace with your friends or with people online. Enter Sorare MLB, that, again, has all your MLB fantasy needs and then some. You build your roster, you draft your team, you enter weekly tournaments twice a week at least on Mondays and Fridays, and if you do well in these tournaments, you win cash prizes, hundreds if not thousands of dollars, upgraded cards for your roster for better players than what you currently have on your team, different types of awesome giveaways, including what we're doing right now, folks. And as you guys can see right now, I have two tournaments entered at the moment. They're both off to good starts here. To my right is the one that you guys can see. I got George Kirby, Cano, I got Andrew Vaughn, Francisco Alvarez, El Trill, Brian Reynolds, Adley Rutschman, Lance Lynn, who had a surprisingly good start. My other team, I have Nimmo, who's been balling out, Gunnar Henderson, Edwin Diaz, who's suspended, and others. But if you guys just sign up today to our Sorare MLB unique link in the description down below, draft your team and enter a tournament, that is all you guys got to do to be automatically entered for our Mets ticket giveaway. We are giving away Mets tickets to any games you want to go to this season for 3 lucky amazing Mets fans. We did this over a month ago on the channel for 5 fans. Now we're doing it again for 3. So get involved in case you guys haven't. We will be announcing the winners in the next day or so as I'm working with Sorare MLB to get you guys all hooked up and, of course, accounted for with those tickets in the coming days. So good luck to everybody that enters. Again, check out Sorare MLB today for all your fantasy needs and for your chance to win free Mets tickets to any games you want to go to this season. Enter today because, again, this will be done the next 24 to 48 hours. Thank you all so much in advance for doing so. Pete looks expendable by the day, says Belly Dottie. Thank you for the donation. I mean, I definitely don't completely disagree with you. I still don't want Alonso gone, obviously, but I definitely see the point that you're making there to a degree. Yes. And speaking of the Mets here now, folks, let's get into a bit on what stood out here. And let's start this time. Let's get into the offense, and then we'll go to the pitching because the offense needs to be headline again today. They have been absolutely rolling. 17-6, a fantastic stat from Zach Flakerton since Jorge Lopez saved the Mets season. It's actually hilarious how that's true. Jorge Lopez, I'm wishing the absolute best in the Chicago Cubs organization, along with Tomas Nido, obviously. Lopez, who, of course, has a lot going on. I have heard, obviously, going back to that entire situation, that he has a son or daughter that isn't in the best of health and may need a transplant, which has one in hand maybe a little bit with his emotions and the erraticness. So, again, I have no ill will whatsoever with Jorge Lopez. I wish him the absolute best with his future endeavors now there in Chicago. Let's hear it for the skipper. Yes, let's give some tip of the cap here. Carlos Mendoza, again, the Mets pry him away from Aaron Boone and that bench boss job there with the Yankees, and Carlos Mendoza is looking like a better manager than Aaron Boone has ever been. Obviously, I'm exaggerating to a degree, but Mendy having the upper hand in this 2-game set is nice. A little bit of bragging rights between the two good friends, I'm sure. Alberto with a $2 holla says, trade Alonso while he has value. Definitely curious where you guys stand on the Alonso front. I talked about that a bit in my recent early Mets traded line prediction video that came out a couple days ago on the channel. Check it out in case you haven't already. Thank you all so much in advance for doing so. But again, the Mets out hit the Yankees tonight 12-6. Expected batting average of 322 to 287, and the boys are red hot. Francisco Lindor, of course, with the 2 doubles, 2 hits on the day, 246 average, 755 OPS on the season. Ben Gamel, who came in as a defensive replacement, is why you see the numbers there. Jose Iglesias, same applied there at shortstop. Brandon Nimmo, 0 for 3 today with 2 runs scored and a pair of walks, 242 average and a 793 OPS. Ben Gamel, who was just called up by the Mets yesterday as the corresponding move for Starling Marte, who's on the injured list, unfortunately, will be out at least a month. Ben Gamel, again, played the final inning there in left field for Brandon Nimmo. JD Martinez with an RBI single, 287 average and an 859 OPS for my DH. Pete Alonso, 1 for 3 with 3 runs scored and a walk, 241 average and a just under 800 OPS for the Mets slugging first baseman. Francisco Alvarez, 3 for 3 with 3 runs scored, a double, a home run, 3 RBIs and a walk, just a triple shy of the cycle for El Troll, our amazing young backstop. 313 average and a 904 OPS now on the season for the amazing Mets catcher. Luis Torrens 1 for 1 as he got that hitting opportunity later in the ball game. Tyrone Taylor 1 for 3, making the most of it with that one hit. The absolute towering 3-run ding-dong, 2 runs scored and a walk for Tyrone. 240 average and a 657 OPS on the season. Mark Vientos, of course, with 2 RBIs and a hit, 298 average and a 928 OPS. Jeff McNeil, more like Jeff McNope, 0 for 4, but did have an RBI sac fly. 213 average and 569 OPS for a man who should not be starting as much as he is. Harrison Bader 2 for 5 that we see there with the home run, the double, and the 2 RBIs and a run scored. Bader up to 275 on the average this season and a 743 OPS. That is what we love to see too. And you look at this, everybody. The Mets walked 7 guys today. But you want to know what the Yankees did? They also walked 7 guys today. So even though that both of them struggled mightily with their command as a collective pitching group, the Mets were able to pounce in ways that the Yanks simply couldn't. The Yanks in runners in scoring position, you're absolutely disgusting. It reeks. It's not doing well. If you're not named Aaron Judge, you're not doing much. Juan Soto had a solo shot yesterday. Whoop-de-doo. What do you want, a cookie, Yanks fans? This is supposed to intimidate me? How is this supposed to entice me that you guys apparently have the best team in Major League Baseball? That you have the best roster on paper. That you, of course, have Garrett Cole, Luis Heel in this matchup. What, am I supposed to be trembling, shaking in my boots? Far from it. The Mets looked at the series and knew it was going to be a cakewalk for them, and you cannot tell me otherwise. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. I quite frankly don't care, because I absolutely love to see the Mets get the type of victories that they have had. Why can't you stop with the rambling and get on with the show? It would do you good from a professional perspective. Please take in good faith. I appreciate that, my friend, but bear in mind, this is not rambling. This is quite literally talking about everything that transpired in the ball game. It's not my fault that we have a lot to talk about. It's the Mets' fault for outscoring the Yankees by a final score of 12-2. Every day he just puts on this show like, dude, what if you just suck? What are you if you're talking about the Mets don't just suck right now, though. I hope you're not talking about that. Like, leave it to Mets priests. Leave it to Mets fans to somehow talk down on the Mets after a victory like this, getting back to 500. If you're talking to me right now. If you're not, then I retract everything that I'm saying at the moment. Let's see here. This is far from rambling. It's called Mets fandom. I know, this is what I mean. It's rambling if you're a Yanks fan, I think, as well. Especially if you guys are not pumped up, if you guys are upset, then naturally you're going to be a little bit more pessimistic about what we're discussing at the moment. I'm talking about McNeil. Okay, Priest, 100% agree with you, my man. Could not agree more then. Hear you. Thank you. Now, we talked about the offense, and everybody, I got to ask, out of everybody on the offensive end for the Mets tonight, who stood out the most to you and why? Please let us know in the live chat in the comments down below. If it's not El Troll, I don't know who is. I mean, Tyrone Taylor, definitely an impressive bomb there. But I got to go with Francisco Alvarez. A game changer, not only, of course, with his catching ability, his game calling ability, his frame ability, his pop time ability, throwing to first, second, and third. But that offense has been through the effing roof, and we love to see it. Keto, I agree with you. Tanner Scott and Eric Fetty especially are on my personal wish list as well, leading up to the deadline. If you are a New York Knicks fan as well, you're absolutely rolling at the moment. I apologize to any Nets fans I might have just offended, the select few, including my man Evan Roberts. Shout out to you, Evan. As always, you do a great job, but oh my goodness, that was hilarious to see his reaction yesterday. I digress, folks. Where's your heart with Alonso right now? It's been tough. I will always have love and appreciation for Pete Alonso, but as each passing day happens, the Mets look more and more like a lineup that, of course, can get the job done without Alonso, should they allocate that money in other areas come this offseason. Do I want Alonso back? Yes. Do I want Pete Alonso back at $30 to $40 million a year? Do I want him back at 30 plus million a year on a 7-year deal? No. I'm going to be frank and say I don't. I really don't. I want Alonso back on more of a team-friendly contract in the 5 to 6 year range, and honestly similar to what they offered extension-wise last year is what I would like Pete to get. I know Pete's going to be looking for at least $200 million, understandably so. I wouldn't want to go much more past that if I'm the Mets here, because I do think that they could quite literally get the value that Pete Alonso brings from other players in other areas with this similar type of dollars. That's where David Stearns comes into play. Again, I would like to preface this once more. I do not want Pete Alonso off this Mets team. I hope that he retires a Met, same that I felt with Jacob deGrom, truthfully. I hope they finish their career here in Queens, and Pete Alonso goes on to be the home run king in Queens and quite literally help bring us to a championship. However, and this goes for anyone else, I'm a Mets fan. I am not a Pete Alonso fan the way that I'm a Mets fan. I care about winning. I care about the name, of course, that is on the front of your jersey and not the one that is on the back. So when I see Metsies there, when I see New York, that is the emphasis. So whatever is best for this organization to have sustained winning, consistent winning, and an ability to spend is what I want them to do. If that goes in hand with their decision to Pete Alonso, so be it. We will, of course, get to that. We will, of course, address that when it is needed. But right now, the Mets are rolling. Pete Alonso is yet to be even really hot the way he wants to be at Citi Field, and he'll have a chance to really turn things on starting this weekend against the Houston Astros. And speaking of Citi Field here, just for a minute, everybody, I would just like to explain this. It was an absolute vibe tonight. Electric stuff. Even with the rain out, I absolutely love the graphics they got going. When opposing pitchers are coming in now, the stadium looks fantastic. They're basically making you feel how you feel if you're playing in Atlanta at Truist against the Braves, where they have the lights off. They're either doing light flickerings. They have, of course, they're not doing the chop because, we're actually sane people here. We give a shit about some things. If you know, you know. But in the case of the Mets here, at least, they have the orange and the blue lights flashing. They get the phones out. It's a cool, it's kind of an intimidating tactic while also just being a really cool vibe for fans to get up, get their flashlights out, and just enjoy the moment later on the ball game when the Mets are winning, of course, big, like they did, of course, by a final score of 12-2 in this matchup. Thank you so much again for the donations, everybody. Let's start with Alberto here before I get onto the pitching. Alberto says, "Don't pay mind to the schmucks. Talk away, brother. Congratulations on the newborn." Thank you so much, Alberto. Greatly appreciate that, my man. We love you, Wardy. God bless LFGM. Hashtag trade Alonso. I don't agree with that final hashtag per se, but I do agree with all the other sentiment there, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time to donate and for the kind words. So thank you so much for that. Matthew Martell with the $5 donation in the chat says, "Just got home from the game. LFGM, what the F was that hurricane? It hailed tonight. Also, all hail Alvarez. He's our effing guy. Excuse the language." It's okay, Matt. I excused it for you, brother. Thank you for the dono. Greatly appreciate that. Yes, the weather was a monsoon, but for a fairly short period of time. I reside in Pennsylvania, so it hit us earlier in the day. It actually hit us right around 7 p.m. today. I want to go on a walk around my neighborhood with my girl and my baby, and of course, right as I was about to, I looked outside, I'm like, those clouds look dark. Okay, we're staying in to start this Mets game. And I was watching on TV instead of watching my phone to kick things off. And then we see the weather, of course, get there to Flushing. And we saw the hour-and-a-half rain delay. You hate to see it. Let's see. Just said the forbidden word of championship. Now the Mets will have a free fall. You hate to see it, GSU. We'll get through this, though, I promise. Mets send a bat boy to the Yankees for Soto. Who says no, Gavo? Who says no? That is what I love. Absolutely love that. You guys crack me the hell up. You really do. But all right, guys, we talked a lot on the offensive end, and I think most of us can agree El Troll is probably the guy that stood out the most on the offensive end. So let's talk a little bit on the pitching here, because on the pitching end of things, there were some things that stood out, and it includes the following, and we're right around at 200 likes. Thank you all so much for that, everybody. Continue to smash a like and subscribe button for your boy, as it is the easiest and best way to support the channel. And again, thank you all so much in advance for doing so. If you guys could help us get to around 250 by the end of the live show, to my 500 concurrent viewers and over 1,500 concurrent viewers here between YouTube and Twitter, thank you once again. We're at 1,800 right now, you amazing Mets fans. A lot of Twitter viewers as well right now. Continue with that like, that follow button, that retweet button. And if you guys want to interact with me, know that I will be interacting plenty with our chat on YouTube, as we always do. All right, guys. When I'm crying in September after another free fall, I'm going to blame you. That's okay. You wouldn't be the first Mets fan to quite literally blame me for every single thing the Mets do, as if I have polar say. But let's get into on the pitching end, as you guys see here. And this comes from my great friend Isaac Rothman, that many of you guys know by now. Isaac, a awesome, amazing young Mets fan who comes out with awesome Mets pitching threads on Twitter all the time, also shares with me nightly breakdowns on how these Mets starters and relievers especially have performed. He had an early night tonight because he begins early tomorrow with work, so I just got a pitcher report here, not as much on the bullpen, but on the starting, which is Sean Manaea. So let's break that down, and a lot of this information comes via Baseball Savant. Again, these are just some numbers more than the eye test in case you're really curious to break down a pitcher's game in their arsenal, what worked versus what didn't. This is the best way to do so. So Isaac, check him out on Twitter at ISAACGROFFMAN for all your Mets pitching, threads, and awesome analysis needs. But the arsenal for Sean Manaea tonight, again, going 5 innings of 2 hits, 0 earned run, 5 walk, 3 strikeout ball, a 4.16 ERA now on the year for Sean. Sinker, roughly 50% of the arsenal tonight at 92 miles per hour. He topped at 95. Mind you, that's the same sinker that he notoriously has thrown high in the zone. Something we thought would be susceptible to the line ball today was not the case, however, for Sean Manaea and the Mets. Slider, 17% of the arsenal, 85 miles per hour, and of course, we see the sweeper, 17% of the arsenal, 78.5. Difference between the sweeper and the slider. The slider, of course, is faster, quicker movement. The sweeper, of course, is going to have a bit more of that horizontal break and slower in doing so. And it's a thing of beauty, especially if you get it lefty and lefty to some of these guys, like a Soto, for example, even though Juan Soto is amazing. The cutter, 9% of the arsenal, 89 miles per hour tonight. Change of 5% of the arsenal, 85 miles per hour. And the four-seam fastball just threw a couple times, 3% of the arsenal, and was right around 93.2 miles per hour. This was pretty much a stereotypical Sean Manaea outing. A 5-and-dive pitcher is what he has continued to be, and because of that reason, even though he was effective, the Mets will not only ponder but weigh their options and dealing some starting pitching talent by the deadline because of guys like Kodai Senga ramping up, expected to begin a rehab assignment sometime next week, and because of guys like Christian Scott, who actually will be called up by the Mets as soon as potentially this weekend. Even the off day Thursday for the Mets, they got to figure out what they want to do with this rotation. They got 17 games in 17 days. They're going to want as many starters available there. David Pearson, is he going to stay in the rotation? Will they consider setting him down because he still has options? There's a lot that the Mets have to ponder there, but rest assured, there will be a shakeup with this rotation, and Sean Manaea, Jose Quintana are kind of at the top of the list of arms the Mets will be willing to part with, knowing that they can address it internally while also considering external options that we discussed in our early trade deadline prediction video a day or two ago here on the WardyNYM platform. But again, a very stereotypical outing for Sean Manaea. Again, 5 walks, doing his best David Peterson impression from yesterday. Only a couple strikeouts, but he, again, worked his pitches very well. That sinker, a little bit more. It was at 49% of the arsenal tonight, usually sitting around 10% lower there at 38% on that pitch, and he did have a pretty solid 27% whiff rate on it. Not surprisingly, he paired the sinker with the slider that we've seen plenty this season, which works better than the sweeper against the Yankees' righty-heavy lineup, and got a few whiffs on it that we saw in tonight's matchup. He got 3 swings on his sweeper, but all of them were misses, giving it a 100% whiff rate, so we will gladly take that. And, again, this is what you expect from Sean, a 5-and-dive type pitcher. 5 walks is inexcusable, and because he did not go beyond 5 innings, I'm giving him a 5 out of 10 on my rating. To everybody in the live chat and the people in the comments down below, let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 for Sean Manaea, how would you rate his starting line? Because for me, again, I gotta go a 5 out of 10. He was strong, but I hate not getting depth. I hate not getting depth from this rotation. So because of that, anyone that doesn't give me any more than 5 innings, you're getting at most a 5 rating. Even if he struck out everyone in the mother, I'm still giving him a 5 out of 10 because you can't go deep. And that is a frustration, even if it's true that this is what Sean Manaea will always kind of be, especially with the Mets this season. That's going to do it. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you get your WardyNYM postgame shows, either here on YouTube or on my Twitter that you guys got to follow. Thank you so much in advance for doing so. The Mets win this one by a final score of 12-2. They continue their winning ways, and they look to kick off a massive series against the Yanks daddies, and yes, the Houston Astros, starting this Friday. So until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this, folks, and this is your boy Wardy, signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace. Love you guys. That was fun. That was an electric one. Peace out, y'all.